Oftentimes, you either fall in love with the film's characters or its universe, and you cannot wait for the next installment. The film completely engrosses you, and then when the credits roll, you're either left with lingering questions or just simply wondering what they'd get up to in their next adventure. I'm still waiting for the sequel to the 90s live action TMNT films. I mean, they were so cool, and I just wanted to see what kind of crazy adventure they'd embark on. Well, thankfully, some amazing films have recently gotten the green lights for sequels, and some of these look super exciting. Before we begin, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Every new sub helps us achieve our goal and keeps us motivated to create new content. With that being said, I'm your host, Jamie, and here are 10 sequels that we're excited for. Number 1, Talk to Me. The first installment took a recognizable plot, that of the Ouija board game, and implemented a clever twist to keep it fresh and entertaining. Spoilers for those who haven't seen it. Just pause this video, go watch it, and come back. Still here? Alright. Well, with the film ending with the death of the main protagonist, Mia, and her being summoned to a random group of French partiers, the most obvious route for the sequel would be for her to try to take over one of their bodies and escape this hell that she's been trapped in. However, they could take a prequel route, albeit a less interesting concept, to explain where the hand came from. All this would do is serve to demystify the hand and its curse, which in my opinion, always ends up ruining horror films. But with the original director and screenwriter returning, there's a lot to look forward to. And with a release date set for 2025, we should see a trailer for it soon, hopefully. Number 2, Cloverfield 2. We've been waiting for a direct sequel to 2008's Cloverfield for, well, almost 2 decades now. Cloverfield had an amazing campaign when it originally released. Not only did it do well to hide the titular creature until the film's release, but the AR viral campaign caught the nation's interest, with internet sleuths foaming at the mouth for every clue they could find to discover a piece of information to the Cloverfield universe. Then we got a bunch of disjointed side sequels, and it seemed like both J.J. Abrams and Matt Reeves got bored with the franchise and just kind of let it fall apart. Now, both Reeves and Abrams have gone on to do some amazing other films, but it was a disappointment that a true sequel seemed like it would never happen. Of course, that was until it was officially announced to be in production and scheduled for release sometime in 2025. Curious how they will tie everything together, if they will ignore the side sequels or do some timey-wimey thing to bring it back into one cohesive timeline. But I, for one, am excited to see some big monster action back on the big screen.
Hey folks, sorry to interrupt, but we just launched our very own merch store at fatninja.shop. We sell everything from t-shirts, hoodies, mugs, and more, so we would greatly appreciate it if you checked it out. All the proceeds go to our future projects, so it helps us make any kind of movies and short films that we want to make in the future. So if you got time, check out fatninja.shop. Thanks again, and back to the video.
Number 3, They Follow. 2014 had one of the biggest throwback smash hits with It Follows, a horror film that was basically an allegory for sexually transmitted diseases. Pretty much the living nightmare for anyone in their 20s and early 30s. The great thing about it is that the young adults in the film don't just Google for an answer of how to defeat the creature, nor is it explained beyond what it does, keeping it in a shroud of mystery and menace. We never see its true form, harkening back to the legendary monsters like Pennywise, and it never gets tired. Once you've been cursed by it, it continuously stalks you in order of most current to last. Curious if it kills all the people on the list. Like they say, the curse started in the 1800s. Surely, those people are dead. Then does the curse just disappear, or does it get free? Anyway, with a title like They Follow, and many of the former cast returning, I'm wondering if the couple at the end of the film split up and have sex with other partners, causing the entity to split into multiples of itself to stalk victims all over. This could be quite the clusterfudge of intense horror, never knowing if the person off in the distance approaching you is the creature, or even if multiple people coming at you could all be linked to the entity. They Follow is scheduled for release sometime in 2025, so be sure to keep an eye out for that trailer. Number 4, I Am Legend 2. Not many people know this, but I Am Legend originally had a much more tragic ending, where instead of Will Smith's Dr. Robert Neville blowing himself and the Darkseekers to hell with a grenade, he actually finds out that they have emotions and their own kind of society. And they were only after him because he kept kidnapping them to experiment on them. He then gives back the young girl and the creatures leave. A kind of gut punch ending that apparently the studios thought wouldn't resonate with the audiences, and opted for the more explosive hero ending. Well, that creates quite a pickle when it comes to the sequel, as they plan on bringing back Smith, so they have to go with the original ending, where he's still alive at the end, which is sure to confuse plenty of audiences who only remember the theatrical release, or own an early release copy of the film. Regardless, it seemed like he had found a cure at the end, so I'm guessing that's what's most likely going to happen, is the same thing that started the plague in the first place. That the cure mutates and creates an even deadlier pathogen or a monstrosity, which might see humans and Darkseekers have to team up, or alternatively, the cure just works, but trying to get the Darkseekers to take it goes all Planet of the Apes, and they want to keep their society and go to war. Set to release in the later half of 2025, I guess we'll find out when that first trailer drops. Number 5, Dune Messiah. Denis Villeneuve has crafted probably the most closely adapted and visually mind-blowing duology of films based on the Dune books by Frank Herbert. And wouldn't you know, there's a ton more books to continue to expand this amazing universe. And that's just what's being served up with Dune 3 Messiah. After Paul pretty much liberated Arrakis from the Empire, he also kind of became its overlord, an unwilling dictator caught up in his own mythology. Not to mention all the secret plots going on in the background with the Bene Gesserit and the other major families. Their story will be expanded on in the Max series Dune Prophecy, which is sure to be just as amazing as the films. The trailer has already dropped and it looks gorgeous. As for Messiah, it will be stepping away from Paul and following his sister more, who is still unborn during the events of Dune 2, even though some future visions showed her as an adult portrayed by Anya Taylor-Joy. Announcements have also come out of some big names joining the cast, such as Henry Cavill, Robert Pattinson, Robert Downey Jr., and Margot Robbie. So I hope a trailer drops for it within the next few months. Currently only listed to be in production, so we probably won't be seeing it till 2026 at the earliest. But I am definitely excited to see this next installment. Number 6, Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse. The final chapter in Sony's animated Spider-Man universe. It's said to be the bridge which will see Miles Morales break out of animation and into live action, with possible crossovers with our Sinister Six universe in the future. I highly doubt we'll see him pop up in the MCU, but never say never, I guess. There's also a huge list of spin-offs coming out of this film. including a Spider-Man Noir limited series with Nicolas Cage back to voice the role of that universe's Spidey, as well as an animated origin series / reboot of the Spider-Man 2049 cartoon to flesh out Miguel even further. Even though Sony has been striking out with films like Morbius, Madam Web, and most definitely the upcoming Kraven the Hunter film, their animated releases are at the top of their game, and I have high hopes that this film will nicely wrap up the trilogy, provided there isn't too much studio interference to try and force it to be part of a larger cinematic universe. Originally, it was set to come out March 29th of this year, but due to the strikes, it got pushed back. So look for it sometime in 2025, with a trailer most likely dropping around the holidays. Number 7, The Accountant 2. The first film was an underrated thriller that really allowed Ben Affleck to slide back into the role of cool, collected badass after the dismal failure that was Justice League. As much as I personally thought he was great as an older and more cantankerous Batman in the Snyderverse, it already started when the studio kept trying to interfere with his solo Batman film. And then, of course, whatever Whedon did to the character was pretty much the final nail in the coffin for The Dark Knight. Anyway, point is, The Accountant saw Affleck back in fine form and delivered some badass action with a decently compelling plot. And the film leaves things pretty open-ended, so I was hoping they would kick off a kind of Bourne franchise with the character. And here we are, 8 years later, and finally getting that much anticipated sequel. No plot details have been revealed, so it's practically impossible to speculate where they will take the series going forward. All I know is, I want to see him take down some more highly trained expert soldiers with uncanny precision, all while worrying about his peas mixing with his carrots. With actors such as J.K. Simmons, Danielle Pineda, Robert Morgan, and Allison Robertson joining the cast, and a release date set for summer 2025, a trailer should drop sometime in fall to give us some more insight about what's going to go down. Number 8, Twisters. Releasing July 19 of this year, it's been literal decades since the first film blew away audiences. Pun intended. Originally, they had planned to make a sequel 20 years ago, with Helen Hunt and Bill Paxton returning, only to be killed off and have their children deal with that trauma, and become storm chasers to figure out how to stop tornadoes, or something along those lines. But Paxton was busy working on other projects, and Hunt was basically stepping back from Hollywood to focus on family life. So it never materialized, unfortunately. Then Paxton died in 2017, and talks of a sequel went quietly into the dark. Or so we thought. Enter Lee Isaac Chung and Joseph Kosinski, and they basically talked Universal and Warner Brothers into striking a deal and making the long-awaited sequel. The reason these two major studios are involved is because one owns the rights to the Twister franchise, and the other owns the rights to author Michael Crichton's works, which, if you don't know, the first film based its characters on one of his books. Now, it seems like there's some contradictory information out there. Some sources say that the main character, Katie Cooper, is the daughter of Paxton and Hunt, following in her parents' footsteps, and others say that she's a brand new character unrelated to anyone from the first film. But from the trailers that have been released, clearly Kate is on the same mission to basically predict and stop tornadoes happening by using modern science advancements to study climate change and its effect on a region of America known as Tornado Alley. Let the cows, trucks, and houses fly this summer when you go see it in theaters, again, releasing on July 19th. Number 9, Alien Romulus. It's been so long since we had an actual sequel or prequel that tied into the Alien series. And I know we got Prometheus and Covenant, but Prometheus could almost be its own thing. And the less we say about Covenant, the better. Although I do have to admit, the cast for Covenant was actually pretty stellar. It was just a bad script, bad pacing, and they tried too hard to force it back into the Alien universe after fan backlash that it became utterly messy. Now, some of you might be familiar with Neil Blomkamp's Alien film idea, where he basically wanted to reboot this series to ignore both Alien 3 and Resurrection as like some kind of fever dream that Ripley had while in cryo, and it was basically nuked out of existence by Ridley Scott's hubris. Then you had the acquisition of Fox by Disney, which is pretty much why there was no sequel to the phenomenal video game Alien Isolation, nor any progress on the planned miniseries based on it. Well, someone in the studio took a long, hard look at the franchise and finally decided to fix it. Because not only are we getting what is roughly a live-action version of Alien Isolation with the release of Alien Romulus, but also a live-action streaming series, which is rumored to be based on Blomkamp's original script. This is great news for fans, as we may finally be able to rejoice to see our favorite menacing space bugs go back to their horror roots and become more deadlier than ever instead of just cannon fodder for orbital grunts. The film hits theaters on August 16th of this year, and I, for one, cannot wait to be blown away by this film. They may not be able to hear me scream in space, but they will hear me scream in the theater for sure. Number 10, Maxine. Now, there has been some major controversy surrounding both Mia Goth and her troublemaking beau, Shia LaBeouf. And that has kind of unfortunately put a huge dent in the hype for this film, the third installment in T.I. West's homage to slasher flicks. Because both X and Pearl were great films, each offering a unique take and visual style on different decades of gore-filled horror offerings, and Maxine looked to continue the trend, with having Maxine herself being stalked by a killer, while she is also a serial killer. It's like if Aileen Wuornos was being pursued by Ted Bundy. Just an insane idea. And the death toll is going to at least be in the double digits before the credits roll. The film takes place in 1985, at the height of the killings by Night Stalker. And even though she's traumatized by what happened in X, she still dreams of being famous, and is probably developing some kind of psychotic personality of her own. It boasts a star-studded cast, including Kevin Bacon, Michelle Monaghan, Giancarlo Esposito, Halsey, Lily Collins, Bobby Cannavale, and Elizabeth Debicki, and it's set to release on July 5th of this year. So if you've been dying to sink your teeth into a visceral visage of viscera, make sure to turn up to see it in theaters. Or if rumors are to be believed, it supposedly will also simultaneously release as a Shudder exclusive the same day. Thanks for checking out the video. Did we leave any films off the list? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to tap that bell icon to stay up to date with our latest releases. You can reach out to us on Twitter or X at StudiosFat, or chat with us on Discord, linked below. Make sure to check out our very own merch store located at fatninja.shop. All proceeds go towards our future film projects, so we'd greatly appreciate it. I've been your host, Jamie. Thanks again. See you soon.